Howdy y'all, thanks for joining us today for this playthrough of Marvel Champions, and we are going to be playing through the Nebula deck. This is the hero pack that basically we unchanged. All I did was, already gave it a few shuffles, but we basically just took it straight out of the package, and we're going to try it up against the Rhino deck, which is considered the starter deck with the core box. The only differences are, normally you would put in the standard, which I did shuffle in the standard, but instead of doing bomb scare, I just used a randomizer. And the randomizer originally came up with the Power Stone. I just feel like this would be really good already, because this is what it does. I mean, because basically, if I'm most likely going to hit Rhino first, which is going to give me the Power Stone, which will give me +3, and if I have a way to just make sure he doesn't hit me again, like an ally or something, then I'm just going to basically be doing a lot of damage to him. And I just feel like it isn't going to give me a true chance to try out this deck against a villain. So I decided to hit it again, and it came up with Temporal. So we're basically Rhino, Temporal, and Standard is what's in the deck. And I've already mixed in the Obligation also. I was trying to find it. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Inferiority Complex. Anyways, we're going to give this a few more shuffles, mix this all in, get right into it. If this is your first time to join me, yeah, we're playing like I said, the Nebula deck, Unchanged, straight out of the hero pack. That way you can see if it's a deck that you want to play. Plus, I kind of have fun just doing that straight out of there to see if they just threw some random cards together that could be good, or is there actually good cards in the deck. So, and it gives you a chance to see how the deck's was designed to be played. So we'll see if it works out. All right, I think that's enough shuffles here for Rhino here for the Nemesis deck. Give it a cut here. This is the Nemesis, which is Gamora. It'll only come up, as far as I know, if Shadows of the Past comes out of the deck, then we'll see. Give this a few more shuffles. I normally sleeve this up, but I just decided to get right into this and try it out, so figure you can take a few shuffles here. I've already kind of shuffled it a few times, but we're just going to give it a few more and get going. Oh, we're on the wrong side. We got to go to our alter ego side as the starting. Also, if this is your first time to join us, you know I will go through a little quick teach, kinda, and just for the first round. And it's just so that if you are new to this, you can decide if you like the way it plays or not, and you can kind of see if it looks like a type of game you want to jump into, which I do recommend. It is a very fun game. I do enjoy this game a lot. So, all right. Either way, hit points, we start with 9. Rhino starts with 14 per player. So since we're solo, 14 hit points. And then we get a hand size of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for our starting cards. And that should be it on the setup. So the way this is going to work is we go back and forth, starting with the hero phase or the player phase. And then after we do all of our stuff on the player phase, it'll go to the villain phase where they'll do their things, and then back and forth until one of the conditions is met. The condition we're trying to meet is we are trying to knock out Rhino twice, or the villain twice, in this case Rhino. There are two stages here that he'll go through. He gets a certain number of hit points per player, per stage. In this case, 14. So we knock him out, we do 14 damage to him. It'll take him to a stage 2, where he'll get 15 hit points per player. Get that to focus a little bit. and then we knock that out, we win. Rhino wins if he can pull off his scheme, which in this case he needs to get 7 threat on this scheme per number of players, so 7 since it's solo. And he's going to put us, there's going to be ways he's going to be putting threat on this scheme. So if he ever gets 7 threat on the scheme, he wins. The other way he wins is if he knocks out all the players. Since we're solo, he knocks me out, he wins. So it's all about me knocking him out twice before he can scheme, pull off his scheme, or knock me out. So we're going to be going back and forth on that. With that being said, on the hero's turn, so we're going to our first hero turn, we basically are going to be playing cards and doing actions, trying to do that thing. So let's get right into it. Enough talking. So one of the things you could do for your hero during your hero phase is you can play cards from your hand. In order to play cards from your hand, every card has a cost up here at the top. And in order to pay for that cost, you pay a number of resources by discarding them from your hand to pay that cost. So in the case of, I want to play this card, I have to discard or pay 1 resource to play this card. So I discard 1 resource. Discard this card from my hand, paying it as 1 resource, and that lets me put this card into play. Now that I've done that, this is an upgrade, which means it upgrades a character. So I am going to upgrade Nebula, and it says while she is in hero form, Nebula gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, and gains stalwart. What stalwart means, she cannot be stunned or confused, which can happen in this game. Stun means she can't attack. Confused means she cannot thwart a scheme. And we'll get into more of that later. And then as a special, give Nebula a tough status card. As far as I understand it from the unboxing, this special trigger happens on her hero form because it says here that basically what's going to happen is after my turn begins, so at the beginning of my next turn, I resolve the special ability on each of my technique cards that I control, and then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. So basically this is going to be just a 1 turn, I get all this stuff, but then at the beginning of my next turn, it's going to make me discard this, and then she'll get a tough status card. And then I've seen some other cards in the deck that'll basically let her use that special. But either way, so I'm putting this on her, so she's going to have +1 thwart, +1 attack, and stalwart. And it upgrades her. And then Nebula has a response ability that says, after I play a technique upgrade, draw 2 cards, limit once per round. Thanos built me for one purpose, to kill. In time, he will regret that. Alright, so we draw 2 cards because that was a technique and an upgrade. And add those to our hand. I want to play another card. I want to play Nebula's ship here. It costs 2. So 2 resources. And now I get to put this support into play. And a support is similar to an upgrade, except it doesn't attach to a character. Like technically this is attached to her. But a support is basically something that goes into play and stays in play unless something makes it go out of play. In this case, I'm putting Nebula's ship into play. And what it does is when I'm spending the resources, hence like when I'm discarding those, during that resource thing, discard, I can exhaust Nebula's ship to generate and that's a wild resource. It means it counts as anything, but basically I can exhaust this and it gives me a resource. So it basically makes it to where I have an extra free resource I can use once per round, because these will unexhaust at the end of my round basically. One of the other things I could do on my turn is once per turn, or player phase, or during my turn, I can basically flip from alter ego to hero form or vice versa, but you can only do that once. I'm going to go ahead and flip to my hero form, which is now going to change the abilities I have here, and we'll get to how those work here in a second. And then it's going to give me a new ability, which is a forced response, which means it's a forced, I have to do it. So after my turn begins, I have to resolve the special on all my techniques, then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. So, but now I am in hero form, and now it makes sense with this upgrade I did, because now normally I have a 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense, but now with this upgrade, while I'm in hero form, which I'm in hero form, Nebula gets +1 thwart, +1 attack. So now I have a 3 thwart and 3 attack as long as this upgrade is on her. Alright, I'm going to play another card, this One Way or Another. It is an event. An event means it is a card that when you play it, it goes away. Afterwards, you just do all the stuff on it. So I am doing this event. It is 0 cost. It is max 1 per round, so I'm going to play once per round, but it is a hero action, hence the reason I need to be in hero form. It means it's an action I can only do in hero form. And what this allows me to do is search the encounter deck for a side scheme, reveal that side scheme, and then draw 3 cards. So now we go into the encounter deck, and we're looking for a side scheme, which will be easy to find because they are sideways. I know of one in there. Okay, so there's this one. Yeah. Or I could choose that one. So it's going to be one of these 3. The one I'm actually going to choose is going to be this one, the Breaking and Taken. And we're going to put this into play. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about side schemes while I'm shuffling this up. So basically the way side schemes work is just like he has this main scheme that he's doing right now, he has a side scheme also. Now, unlike the main scheme where he's going to be adding more scheme to this, the side schemes come into play with scheme or with threat already on them. And they're basically just making the game harder by adding something that they do that just makes the game harder. In this case, it's adding an extra encounter card getting drawn during the encounter phase, which takes place during the villain phase, which means more bad things happening to me during their turn. So in truth, I'm going to be wanting to make sure I take care of that because I do not want to have to deal with that, which I already know I can take care of, which is why I decided to do this. All right. Shuffle that up, put that back. We're going to put this into play. We're going to put 3 threat on it because it starts with 2 threat, and then it says when revealed, place an additional 1 threat per player here. So 3 threat are on there. And then now because I did that, that card said I draw 3 cards. So 1, 2, 3. One of the other things you can do on your turn is called a basic action. And the basic actions are here to the left of the character. They're thwart, attack, defense. And on the other side, on your alter ego, is recovery. So the way a basic action works is I can choose to exhaust them to do one of these actions on the side. If I am thwarting, then when I thwart, I choose a scheme and I remove a number of threat equal to whatever my thwart is. In this case, 2 + 1, 3 thwart. So I can remove 3 threat from a scheme. If I exhaust an attack, then I just choose a villain or bad guy, exhaust them, and then I do that much damage to them. In the case of defense, if I'm being attacked, I can choose to exhaust my character, and I reduce the incoming damage by the number that is in the defense. And we're going to talk about the recovery on the other side. Basically, I can choose to exhaust the character and I recover that many hit points. In this case, we're going to exhaust her to thwart a scheme. So we're going to thwart for 2, plus I have +1 thwart, so we're going to thwart for 3. And we're going to choose the break it and take it, which means we get rid of 3 scheme off of the scheme, or 3 threats, sorry, off the scheme. And then that means, since there's no threat on here, this is discarded and goes away. Next, we're going to choose to do lethal intent. Sorry, my voice cracked a little bit there. We're going to choose to do lethal intent. It has an X cost, and we need to see what we're paying for here. And it says here is a hero action. I can choose up to X technique upgrades I control and resolve each of their can't talk today. Resolve each of their special abilities in the order of your choice. I only have 1 technique, so I'm going to pay 1 resource. That means because I only have 1 technique that I control and that I want to target, I only have to pay X, which is 1 technique. So pay X 1. So I'll pay the 1 here. And then now that means I get to choose 1 technique and resolve its special. So I choose this one, and the special is give Nebula a tough status card. And what a tough status card is it means that the next time that Nebula would take any damage, instead of taking damage, I just get rid of the tough status card. So basically, one time she can just take a hit and take 0. I actually finally remembered well, it's not that I remembered, I just had these laying around. But this is my little plastic things I made with my 3D printer. But these are the ones that were mess ups. But I was like, I'll just start using them. But that's my tough. Next, I want to bring out an ally. So I need to pay 4. I'm going to exhaust Nebula's ship to generate a wild. So there's 1 of my 4. 2. And then notice this card has 2 more down there. So 3, 4. So some cards are really good as they offer more resources. But there's my 4. So we put Venom into play. He is an ally. You are allowed to have up to 3 allies into play. This is his hit points. I know these are damage counters. I prefer to go ahead and just put their hit points on the character. That way I know how many hit points they're sitting at. And Venom's special ability is, while there is no threat on the main scheme, reduce all consequential damage Venom takes by 1. So what that means is, you'll notice allies have the same abilities pretty much, other than defense here, but they have the same abilities just like your character. So what that means is, if I exhaust this character, I can thwart or attack with them, just like I did with the main character as a basic attack or thwart. Now notice they do not have defense. And it's because if I decide to defend with them, they just kind of take it in the face and it just takes up their hit points and see if they get KO'd or not. Now the only difference is with an ally, you'll notice they got these little stars underneath the attack and thwart. What that means is if they do that basic attack or thwart, they have to take, that's called consequential damage, and they have to take that much damage for doing that action. So that's where his ability comes into play, because it says while there's no threat on the main scheme, reduce all consequential damage Venom takes by 1. So with that being said, I'm going to choose to attack Rhino for 3 damage. So first things first is Rhino takes 3 damage, taking him to 11. And then there is no threat on the main scheme. So hence, Venom's ability, if there's no threat on the main scheme, reduce the consequential damage he takes by 1. So normally he would take 2 because there's 2 stars there. Instead, he only takes 1. And that's how allies work. There's one other action one other thing you could do on your turn that I didn't go over, and it's because I didn't really have any in my hand. I mean, I kind of did it. It was with the event cards, but these were event actions that are just done once because of events. But if you have actions out here in play, you can choose to do those actions also. But with that, I have no more actions I can do. I have no more cards in hand to play. Or once you choose you do not want to do any more actions or play any more cards, you go to your end step. And during your end step, first thing you do is you discard any cards you do not want from hand. I have no cards in hand anyway, so I have no cards to discard. You draw up to your hand size. Now remember, my starting hand size was 6. But in my hero form, my starting hand size is 5. So I draw up to my hand size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then after you draw, you unexhaust all your cards. Or ready. I always don't want to say unexhaust, but ready all of your cards. And then with that, we go to the villain phase. The first step in the villain phase is the villain accelerates his main scheme. And he's going to add threat to the main scheme equal to whatever his acceleration is right here. So like right now, and the 0 was how much scheme starts on the main scheme, in this case 0. But now he's going to accelerate +1 threat per number of players. So 1 player, so he adds 1 threat to the scheme. Next, the villain is going to either scheme or attack. And it's dependent upon what form my character is in, or the first player. In this case, I'm solo, so I'm always the first player. But if I was in alter ego form, he would scheme and add more threat to his scheme. If I'm in hero form, he is going to attack my character. In this case, I am in hero form, so he's going to choose to attack. Or he's not going to choose to attack, he is going to attack. So it means I have to choose if I'm going to defend with Nebula or Venom. And whichever one I choose to defend with, I would exhaust. If I defend with Nebula, it would reduce the damage by 2. If I defend with Venom, he would just take all the damage. In this case, since I have the tough status here, which means the next damage I would take is, instead I just get rid of this, I'm going to choose to defend with Nebula. Or not defend with Nebula, but I'm going to choose to just take the damage, because I don't care. So once I make that choice, he's going to now do his damage. So he's going to do 2 damage, and whether he schemes or attacks, he gets dealt 1 boost card. And then we flip over to boost cards, and we're ignoring the card except for what's in this bottom corner here. In this case, nothing. But I'm going to show you with the break it and take it. So we were looking for symbols that look like that, or a star, which we'll get to if it hits in this game. In this case, he adds nothing to it. So that means he's going to do 2 plus 0. So he's doing 2 damage. I have tough, so instead he just gets rid of tough, and I take no damage. This is also when all the minions would engage. Or all minions that are that are engaged with my character would also attack and or scheme. In this case, there are no minions in play. Normally the engaged minions are over here. I just put them all in the villain area and switch back and forth between cameras for villain or hero. But yeah, there's no minions, so no minions do anything. Next is the encounter step, where every player is dealt 1 encounter card, and then you have to resolve all the encounter cards that are in front of you. So we are dealt our encounter card, and now we resolve it, and it is advanced. When revealed, the villain schemes. So he is going to scheme for 1, and then we deal him a boost card, +1. So he schemes for 2, adding 2 threat to the scheme. After that, the last thing you would do is you would pass the first player marker over to the next player, so that they are the new first player. We are solo, so we're not going to deal with that. And that's it. Other than that, we just go back and forth, going our turn, his turn, our turn, his turn, until I either knock him out twice, or he pulls off his scheme or knocks me out. So, let's go to the beginning of my turn, and with Nebula, I have a force response that says, after my turn begins, resolve the special ability on each technique upgrade you control, then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. So, I have to resolve the special here, which is give Nebula a tough status card. Tough status card. And then I have to discard, that's all my technique specials done. And now I have to discard each technique resolved this way. And then now we just go into doing our actions. So I'm going to go ahead and just play a technique now. Cost 1. I'm going to use this resource. Now, this one has a hero response that after I spin this card, remove 1 threat from the main scheme. So I'm in hero, and I'm spinning the card, so I get to remove 1 threat from the main scheme. But that lets me put this technique on her. Well, I guess I can show you, which gives her basically piercing and overkill. And what overkill means is if there was, let's say, a minion in play that had 2 hit points, and I'm doing 3 damage to that minion, the damage would overkill. So I would do 2 damage to that minion and then do an additional damage to the villain, or if they're doing it the opposite way of me, if they do, say, Rhino's doing 4 damage and I block with Venom, he would do 3 to Venom and then 1 to me. Basically just gives her attacks, piercing, and that overkill. Neither of those come into play right now, but you'll see why I decided to give her the technique here in a second. Alright, I'm going to bring Gamora into play here. I'm going to exhaust Nebula's ship for 1 of her cost and discard this resource for 2, so that's 3 to bring Gamora into play, which is another ally. Remember, I can have up to 3. And as a response, after I play Gamora, I choose a technique upgrade I control and resolve its special ability. So we put her into play, and as a response, I get to resolve this Cutthroat Ambition, which is the special on it, and it lets me remove 3 threat from a scheme. So I'll remove the 2 threat off of here, up 2. I didn't have enough. And now, since the scheme has main scheme has no threat on it, I'm gonna exhaust Venom to attack Rhino again for 3 damage. Take it into 8. And since there's no threat on the main scheme, I reduce the consequential damage by 1, so Venom only takes 1 consequential damage. And now I'm going to attack with Gamora for 2 damage on Rhino. Take it into 6. And then there's 1 consequential star there, so she takes 2 damage, or 1 damage, putting her to 2. And then I'm going to exhaust Nebula to attack Rhino for 2 damage. Take it into 4. And she don't take any consequential damage. With that, I still have 1 card in hand. I'm going to keep it in hand. I have no other actions I want to do, so we go to the discard. Like I said, I'm going to keep that card in hand. So now we draw up to our hand size of 5. We already have 1 in hand, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And actually, well, no, I already saw cards, so I didn't think about that. When my next turn starts, I'm going to get rid of the threat anyway, so I'm not going to be thwarting. I should have just discarded that. Oh well. We ready all of our cards. We accelerate the main scheme, putting one threat on there. I am in hero form, so Rhino is going to attack me. I choose not to defend, so he's going to do 2, 3, 4 damage to me. I have tough, so instead of doing 4 damage, I just get rid of the tough. No minions. We go to the encounter phase, deal ourselves an encounter card. Now we resolve the encounter card, which is charge. It's an attachment. We attach this to Rhino. It is a forced interrupt. When Rhino attacks, that attack gains overkill. And he has +3 attacks. So that means his next attack, this is where I needed the tough actually, is going to be 5 damage. And it has that overkill. Like I said, if I chose to block with Venom or Gamora, let's say I choose to block with Gamora, he's going to do 2. Since he's going to do 5, 2 goes to Gamora, the other 3 would go to me. Should have saved the tough, but that's alright. Stopping 4 damage seems good also. Alright, with that, back to the beginning of my turn. Beginning of my turn, we have to resolve the special on my technique, which is remove 3 threat from a scheme. There's only 1 scheme, it only has 1 threat, so we're removing the threat from it. And then this goes away. Let's choose to exhaust Nebula, and I'm going to attack Rhino for 2 damage. Putting him the 2. Now I'm going to flip to my alter ego form. I think I'm just going to play it safe as much as I want to see more of the deck. I did like how good these were, and there may be multiples in there, but I think I'm going to play this event and shuffle the 2 techniques upgrades from my discard pile into my deck. So I'm going to shuffle those 2 back into my deck. Okay. I'm going to choose to exhaust Nebula's ship, spin it as a resource to put this technique on, which basically reduces all damage from each attack I take by 1. And when it goes away, I get to look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, discard 1, and put the others back in any order. So I'm putting that technique on her. Now I have a response that says after I play a technique card upgrade, draw 2 cards. Limit once per round, so I get to draw 2 cards. And I'm going to choose not to do anything with Venom or Gamora. And the reason is I've played against Rhino enough. I know that when we go to his stage 2, after I knock him out this first time, he's going to go get this Breaking and Taken and put it into play. So I just know that, sorry, and I'm playing with that knowledge a little ahead of time. And that's one of the things, advantage of playing the game a lot. And I don't want to have to, so if I have one of these guys go in and knock him out, the other one's does not have enough thwart to be able to get rid of Breaking and Taking, because remember it's going to get 3 scheme on it. So I'm going to have them do nothing, and with that I'm going to go to my end step. I have a full hand of cards here, but I think I'm ready to just go off on the next turn. I am going to discard this because I have no reason to heal. And I'm going to keep these other 4 cards in hand. So now we draw up to my hand size, which is now 6 in my alter ego form. So draw 2 more cards. 1, 2. And then ready, everybody. And everything. And then now, accelerate the scheme. So it's going to add 1 threat to the scheme. But now I'm in alter ego form, so he's going to scheme. So he's going to scheme for 1, 2, 3. So he adds 3 threat to the scheme. There are no minions. We go to the encounter step. Oh, wouldn't that suck if it is another one that makes him scheme? It is not. Instead, it is a minion. So a minion would go into play. Normally when a minion comes into play, they'll come over here engaged with me. I just leave them all into play since I'm the only person they can be engaged with anyways. So we got a Chitauri soldier that came into play. It's got 3 hit points. He schemes and attacks. But when he attacks, he has a forced interrupt. And it says, when the Chitauri soldier attacks you, discard the top card of the encounter deck, take indirect damage equal to the number of boost icons on that card. So basically, it's kind of like the villain, where he's going to add boost damage. It's just indirect. Indirect means it has to be spread out amongst all my characters and all my characters. So it means if it was 3 indirect damage, even if he's attacking me, it means 3 indirect. I have to do 1, 1, 1. But yep. So a new minion comes into play, engage with me. He has 3 hit points. And then we go back to the beginning of my turn. We don't have that force response, so we do not have to get rid of this. I'm going to exhaust Nebula's ship as a resource to get a wild resource to pay for this upgrade. Evasive maneuvers. It says, while in hero form, Nebula ignores the guard keyword. Guard means I cannot damage the villain until I take out the person with guard. Patrol means I cannot do anything to the main scheme or to a scheme until I take out the patrolled guard. Or patrol, the person with patrol. It also ignores the crisis icon. The crisis icon is stuff that shows up like on the side scheme where it had the breaking and taking, where it made it to where I was doing an extra encounter. Instead, a crisis means I have to take out that before I can do anything against the main scheme. So this basically just makes sure she ignores everything. She's got evasive maneuvers. Either way, we're putting this on her. And remember, her response is, after I play a technique upgrade, draw 2 cards. And this is a new round, so I get to do that. So, draw 2 cards. And then now, since I've used up her ability, I'm going to switch her to hero form. I was worried because I didn't think I could play this, but I think I can. And the reason is because I didn't know. Either way, I'm going to play, because I don't know if there was any side schemes left in the deck, but I think there's still one. But yep, I'm going to play one way or another. 0 cost is a hero action. I'm in hero form. Search the encounter deck for a side scheme. Reveal that side scheme. Draw 3 cards. Should still have Rhino's other side scheme in here, because I noticed the other 2 we saw already are in the discard pile. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was gonna go get the breaking and taking just so I can go ahead and put it into play now. Knock him out, do things, but Alright, gave that a few shuffles. So we put crowd control into play. It's going to start with 2 scheme per number of players, so 2. And that's that crisis thing I was talking about where I cannot do anything against the main scheme until this one's taken care of. But now I get to draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Alright, with Nebula, I'm going to choose to exhaust her to thwart. And I'm going to choose to thwart the crowd control, so she removes 2 threat from a scheme. I chose crowd control, so she gets rid of the 2 threat from the scheme. And now I'm going to play Brains over Brawn. I'm going to use this to pay for it. It says double the number of resources this card generates while paying for a Justice yellow card. Justice card. Because I did that, now I get the hero response of, after your hero makes a basic thwart, deal damage to an enemy equal to your hero's thwart. So I did the basic thwart, so now I get to do damage equal to my thwart, which is 2. So I'm doing 2 damage to Rhino, which is enough to KO him and take him to his next stage. So this is a new Rhino stage, and it says, when revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for the break it and take inside scheme and reveal it. Shuffle the encounter deck. We already know it's in the discard pile. So we're putting breaking and taking into play. It says reveal it, so it's going to get 3 scheme. Or 3 threat. Man, I always say that. Rhino also goes up to 15 hit points per player. And even though I know we don't need to, it says shuffle the deck. So we're going to shuffle it. And I guess that makes a difference only if I would have, like, I had certain things that could have triggered that would have let me do things to the deck, or if you would have went through it. But we're going to shuffle it anyways. We'll just give it a few since it's already randomized. All right. All right, I'm going to pay 1 to put this into play. Basically gives me that retaliate I was talking about, to where every time I'm attacked, she does 1. In retaliation. Oh, she was exhausted. I'm going to choose to play Lethal Intent. I want to do all 3 of these, so it means X is 3, so I have to pay 3 resources. 3 resources. And that lets me choose up to 3 technique upgrades I control. Resolve each of their special abilities in the order of my choice. So the specials I get to pull off, I get to deal 4 damage to an enemy, stun or confuse an enemy, and look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, discard 1, and put the other 2 back in any order. I'm going to do this one first, so we're going to look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. We get to get rid of 1, put the others back in any order. So we got Stampede here, which is going to have him attack me again. We have I'm Tough, which is basically going to give him a tough status card. And then Stampede. So either way, he's going to do some attacks. We'll get rid of one of the Stampedes. I hate that he's going to have this Tough card, though. Yeah, I think we're going to put him in this order, with the Tough on top. We are going to stun Rhino, and what stun does is it says the next time that that person would attack, instead they just get rid of this stun card. So we're going to stun Rhino, which I have these, but like I said, you can tell why I don't use these. They're all messed up. I keep forgetting the other ones at the shop. And the reason I stunned him is because of one of the other abilities on here. I should have mentioned that. It says choose to either stun or confuse an enemy, so I choose to stun Rhino. And then the last one we have is deal 4 damage to an enemy. So I'll choose to do 4 damage to the Chitauri soldier. And I don't like it. I don't want to do it, but it did not go the way I wanted to on that. So we're going to have Venom thwart the breaking and taken. So he's going to remove 2 threat from breaking and taken. But since there is threat on the main scheme, that means he has to take both consequential damages, so he is KO'd. And then Gamora is going to choose to attack, or to thwart also the breaking and taken, removing the breaking and taken. She takes 1 consequential damage. And then that's it. So we're going to go on to my end phase. I'm going to keep the 1 card in hand. We draw up to my hand size of 5. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready everything. It's going to accelerate the scheme. Now in this case, I'm in hero form, so he would attack, but he's stunned, so he does not attack. No minions in play. Deal ourselves out the encounter card, which we already know what it is. We play it. Basically, gives a tough status card to Rhino. If he already had the tough status card, he would gain. This card would gain Surge. Surge means draw another card, do it. But so Rhino gets the tough status card, and then we go back to the beginning of my turn. We have to do my forced response, and this is the reason I didn't want that tough status. I don't know why I didn't think about it. I'm an idiot. I meant to put the attack one. Oh well, that meant he would have attacked me and stunned me. But anyway, all right, here we go. So we have to resolve all these specials, and then they're all going to go away. So deal 4 damage to an ally or to an enemy, which is going to get rid of the tough status card. Choose to either stun or confuse an enemy. I'm going to choose to stun Rhino again. And then look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, discard 1, and put the others back in any order. So, hard to keep down, which will heal him a little bit. Put another guy into play, another minion. And this one has guard. Or this. I think it's going to be this one. That if it was just damage, I'd be cool with taking damage, but it's a stun, so I don't like getting stunned. I think we'll just put the Hydra Mercenary on top. That way it comes into play. And we know the hard to keep down will just be there. Alright. And we're to the beginning of my turn. I'm going to exhaust Nebula's ship. To put this into play, unyielding resistance. Which is the one that gives her +1 thwart, +1 attack, and stalwart. I'm going to go ahead and play this, using this. And since it's a Justice card, that pays for it. This is going to give me a +1 thwart on Nebula. And I'm going to have Nebula go ahead and thwart the main scheme. So she's got 2, 3, 4. So she removes threat from the scheme. And now that I'm thinking back, I realized I put those in the wrong order. I should have put the other one on top. Because then I could let him scheme for 0. But, yeah. Because I could have switched to alter ego form. I'm going to have Gamora go ahead and attack. Do 2 damage to Rhino. Taking him to 13. But that's enough with the consequence damage to take her out. And with that, I'm going to hold these 2 cards in my hand. So I draw up to my hand size of 5. So there's 3, 4, 5. Ready. He accelerates the scheme. He goes to attack because I'm in hero form. He cannot because he is stunned. Next we do the encounter step, which will be putting the Hydra Mercenary into play. So 3 hit point with guard. And then we go back to the top of my turn. We have to do the forced response, which is give Nebula a tough status card. I'm going to bring Wraith into play here. There's the 3. So he's a 3 hit point. Does 3 attack, 1 thwart. As a hero interrupt, when a boost card is turned face up, exhaust Wraith and deal 1 damage to him to cancel that card's boost effect. We haven't shown boost effect yet. I don't know if I even saw any go into the discard pile. But some cards do special stuff when they're revealed during the boost thing. There's 3. We choose to have Wraith attack the Hydra Mercenary, KOing him. But since I attacked with them, he has to take 2 consequential damage. Pay 1 from Nebula's ship to play this technique, Wide Stance. So one where she takes 1 less damage from all attacks. I'm going to choose to have her attack Rhino for 2. And then go to my end step, keeping this card in hand. Oh, need to draw up to my hand size first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready everything. Accelerate the scheme. I'm in hero form. He's going to attack. So 3, 4, 5, 6 with overkill because it's a forced interrupt. I'm not going to defend. And 0, so he's doing 6 damage with overkill. Luckily, I have the tough thing that gets rid of that. Says at the end of this attack, discard charge, so charge goes away. And now we go to the encounter phase, and now we see what the encounter card is. Another attachment. Oh, it's charge again. Lovely. Another lovely charge. Back to beginning of my turn. Get rid of this special, or the technique. The special is, look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Discard 1, put the others back in whatever order we wish. So it is another attachment, which just gives them extra damage. Thing lets them attack, or another minion. So this is that boost thing I was talking. Sorry, I did that. It's because I noticed it. This is that boost thing I was talking about. So if this would have got revealed when we were doing the boost, then we would look here and basically you get this little boost thing. So that's what Wraith allows you to do, is ignore that boost thing if you don't like it. I am going to discard that. And I'm going to put him in the order to where he'll do +0 damage. And then he'll get this attachment. Let's hope that doesn't turn around to backfire on me. Alright, I'm going to have Wraith attack Rhino for 3 damage. Consequence damage, KO's Wraith. I realized I decided to take a chance, and I shouldn't have. That time when I had that 4 damage, I had it all set up to where I technically would have knocked him out on my turn. But I would have had to take 2 random encounters. I was worried it would scheme, but I should have just done it. I'm going to play our Exhaust Nebula ship to pay 1 to put Justice Served into play. It's only 1 per player, but it says as a hero response, after I thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and then ready my hero. Now I'm going to choose to thwart with Nebula, which is 2 + 1, 3. So it removes 3 threat from the scheme. Oh, can't pick that up. Since that removed the last one, after you thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready your hero. So discarding Justice Served. It lets me ready my hero. I'm going to choose to attack with Nebula, doing 2 damage, taking him to 6. I'm going to choose to go to Alter Ego form. I'm going to choose to put this technique on Nebula, Pain with this, which gives her piercing and overkill. And then, because of her response, I put a technique on. I draw 2 cards. I'm going to go to my end step. I'm going to discard these 2 cards, keeping these 2 in hand. And we go to draw. I have no cards in my deck, so that means we're going to have to reshuffle our deck. And if your deck ever runs out, what happens is you get dealt 1 encounter card. So that's an extra encounter card I'm going to have to deal with this turn. So when I done that thing with I could have just killed him on my turn, but I didn't want to deal with 2 encounters. I guess I should have just done it because I'm still going to have to deal with 2 encounters. But either way, shuffle our deck up. All right, give it a cut and draw our 3 cards now. Or actually 6, because I'm going to draw up 4 because I have 2 in hand. So 4, oh my goodness, 5. Okay, at least I drew Venom, I guess. I was like, did I just draw a bunch of resources that aren't going to let me do anything? All right, ready all of our stuff. He accelerates the scheme. I am in alter ego form, so he's going to scheme for 1, 2, 3. And we could lose here because we got to resolve these now because we had to deal ourselves another one. So we got 2. These could be ones that are basically tell him to scheme. There is one more. We saw 1 get dealt. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Well, he is scheming. Let's see if I got anything in hand to stop that. I do not, so we gotta hope this isn't. He's gonna do 1. If he adds 3, that's pretty much it. All right, let's see. Oh my goodness, yep, there we go. And we lost because he pulled off his scheme. Because he just now schemed for 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that came down to it. I mean, let's see what the other thing. It would have been a surge because I was in alter ego form, so it would have brought out another minion for me to have to fight. But yeah, it came down to it because really I was going to knock him out now. I should have just taken the chance last time. I was just worried the same thing would happen. It just happened now. But I've basically been holding on to this lethal intent for a while, hoping to get this somehow. So next turn, he was at 6. So flipping over, attacking for 2, and then put this on and cause 4 damage to him. Oh well, it happens sometimes, but that is the game. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. It was an interesting deck. I see why they went Justice with her. Because a lot of that stuff was remove threat. I don't know. I might try her something else, but I did like her as Justice. But we'll have to see. But thank you for watching and have a great day.